Tim was telling me that Carlos Perez.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
5 days. That is all that stands between Marcelo Mayer and the moment his entire baseball life has been building toward. 5 days until the Boston Red Sox walk out onto the field in Cincinnati to open the 2026 Major League Baseball season. 5 days until a 23-year-old infielder from Chula Vista, California, the 4th overall pick in the 2021 draft, the player Baseball America once ranked as the top prospect in his entire draft class. The young man who has been carrying the weight of generational expectations since before he was old enough to legally rent a car, takes his position at second base in a Red Sox uniform, and finally, officially, unambiguously begins the chapter that everyone in Boston has been waiting years to read. Because here is what happened on Saturday morning at JetBlue Park in Fort Myers, Florida. Alex Cora called Marcelo Mayer into his office, and he told him he made the team, opening day second baseman, first career, opening day roster. The job is yours. Now go run with it. And what Mayer said when he walked out of that office, the words he chose, the emotion behind them, the genuine weight he put on a moment that most people watching from the outside had already assumed was a formality for weeks, told you everything you need to know about who this young man is and why the Red Sox believe so deeply in what he is going to become. He said not many people are given the opportunity to wear the B on the hat in Red Sox across the chest. He said it is an amazing feeling, and he does not believe that should be given to anybody. He said he loves that Cora told him he had to work for it and that he took that to heart every single day. He said he is grateful for the outcome. That is not the answer of a player who coasted through spring training knowing the job was already his. That is the answer of a player who took a challenge from his manager personally, who let it sit with him and motivate him through every batting practice session and every defensive rep and every at-bat in Grapefruit League games that most fans barely pay attention to. That is the answer of a player whose character matches his tools. And in baseball, that combination, elite physical gifts plus elite internal drive, is the rarest and most valuable thing an organization can have. Let us back up and tell the full Marcelo Mayer story, because it deserves to be told in its entirety rather than reduced to a single spring training decision. Mayer was born in Chula Vista, California, and grew up as a baseball player of such obvious and immediate distinction that scouts were tracking him before he was a teenager. He hit for average, he hit for power, he played shortstop with the kind of fluid athleticism that makes evaluators use words like generational and once in a decade. The Red Sox drafted him 4th overall in 2021 and signed him for $6.664 million, the largest signing bonus in franchise history at the time for a draft pick. They were betting that what they had seen in Mayer's amateur career was the floor, not the ceiling, of what he would become as a professional baseball player. The minor league ascent was everything they hoped for. Mayer worked his way through the Red Sox system methodically, posting strong offensive numbers at every level while establishing himself as one of the best defensive shortstops in the entire minor league ecosystem. By the time he entered the 2025 season, he was widely regarded as the most complete infield prospect in the American League. The kind of player that rebuilding organizations drool over and contending organizations covet as trade targets. Boston, to their enormous credit, held on to him through multiple trade deadline conversations where his name was mentioned as a centerpiece of potential deals. They believed in what he was going to become, and they were willing to be patient. The big league debut came in May of 2025. When Alex Bregman suffered an injury that created an unexpected opening on the roster. Mayer was called up and held his own. appearing in 44 games while posting a .228/.272/42 line with 4 home runs and 10 RBIs in what multiple observers described as genuinely impressive defensive play at both third base and second base. It was not the offensive explosion that the most optimistic projections had anticipated. His 29.7% chase rate was worse than league average, and his performance was starkly bifurcated between at-bats, where he attacked strikes, and at-bats, where he expanded the zone to his detriment. But it was a debut that showed the tools were real, the defense was elite, and the only meaningful question going into 2026 was whether the offensive approach would sharpen to the level his physical ability suggested was possible. Then came the wrist injury in July that cut his 2025 season short, just as he was starting to settle in at second base. And then came the off-season work that Cora specifically pointed to on Saturday as the reason why this spring training felt different for Mayer than anything they had seen from him before. Cora said Mayer did an amazing job in the offseason, that he is stronger now, that he can play second, short, and third, and that he is just a good player that Cora is excited about. That last phrase, "I'm excited about him," from a manager who is famously measured in his public praise of individual players, carries genuine weight. Cora does not get excited about players who have not earned his excitement. The spring training itself was a story worth examining closely, because it was not a story of dominant numbers. Mayer slashed .214 with 1 home run, 2 RBIs, and a .710 ops across 28 at-bats. Not the kind of line that announces a superstar's arrival in Grapefruit League action. But the metrics that actually matter to the Red Sox coaching staff told a more encouraging story. His strikeout-to-walk ratio was 7 strikeouts to 6 walks across 9 games, a dramatic improvement from the 29.7% chase rate that defined his 2025 struggles. The pitch recognition was sharper, the zone awareness was more consistent, the swing decisions, which Cora had specifically identified as the primary area of improvement needed, were trending in exactly the right direction. Mayer himself acknowledged in a conversation with reporters that his approach is in a good place, specifically calling out the tendency to swing at pitches he could crush as something he has had to consciously manage. He said his motor will not let him take pitches he could drive, that when it is crunch time, he is always going to swing at pitches he should swing at, and that he has had to tone it down more because he knows when it matters he will be swinging. That self-awareness, the ability to identify the specific mechanical and mental tendency that has been limiting your production and articulate a plan to address it, is not something every 23-year-old can do with that level of clarity. It is a sign of a player who has done serious internal work on his game and who is arriving in the regular season with a plan rather than just with tools. The competition that Mayer ultimately won to claim the opening day roster spot deserves specific acknowledgement because it shaped the story of the spring in ways that went beyond a simple coronation of the obvious heir apparent. Kristian Campbell, the player who was Boston's starting second baseman on opening day in 2025 after signing an 8-year, $60 million contract, who was the American League's Rookie of the Month in April before his season fell apart and he was sent to AAA in June, arrived in Fort Myers this spring trying to reclaim the job he had lost. Campbell went 6 for 28 in spring training at-bats while getting most of his playing time in center field, with Cora noting that the strikeouts were going up and the walks were going down, calling that uncharacteristic of who Campbell is as a hitter. Campbell himself, when told the news that he was